Hello to all and welcome to this new video. In this last month, we were working on this new application and finally it was published on the Play Store. So it passed all of the verification and it was approved. And I wanted to walk you through the insides of the application, so the backend, the React Native application, work on the overall application, see what APIs we had to implement, and the approach we took in the application itself. We have to implement the monitoring on the application. We have to let it be tested. So yeah, it was quite an interesting journey, and it will be a pleasure to share it with you. So what this application is about, it's allow you to track your appliances and check when they must be maintained. So it helps you to understand what you need to do, and when it literally send you the notifications when you have to do the maintenance of your appliances. So developing this application, we started to develop it as a mobile first application, and even a lot of features is on the phone itself. We had to implement some APIs to make overall of the application working, like for example the logging system and the notifications themselves. So obviously the notifications cannot be sent by the application, they have to be sent by the server. So we have to implement the methods to send those notifications at the correct times. So yeah, let's start by checking out the actual login system. So in this case, we developed the backend in Golang, and we make sure that the login system into the application was quite easy and quite secure. We decide to go with a passwordless login. So you only need to provide your email. We will send you an OTP message, and if the OTP is correct, you will be or registered or login. Like it's one API that manages all of these steps, and it was quite interesting to implement that. We do use like an external service to send emails, because emails, it's a quite tricky part, because if you don't use some reputable provider for the emails won't just arrive, like they will just mark as spam. So we had to implement some interesting parts that either we are using Useplank actually for this application. We found that they work quite well, like as an provider of for sending like OTP emails and similar. Other than the login with the emails, it was quite interesting to work with the upload and download of the backups. So we allow the backups to be created on the application, and we upload them on the cloud in this case. So we have to work. So we had to work with Google services to implement like the actual uploading to the buckets and downloading from the buckets itself. Yeah, it's actually few lines of code, but you have to get the authentications with Google right. Like it's a bit tricky if you don't know how to like set up it. And one of the interesting parts actually was the monitoring. So we added a Prometheus for scrapping the data of the application in the production and see how the actual traffic is going. But this monitoring, it's not always needed, like in the development or in some like instances. So I decided to like create this if-def similar to C, like if you know how in C you can if-def piece of code. Like in this case, I just took that and if-def it. So now if in my environment file I do have this traffic recording like added, the traffic is recording. If not, it's not. Yeah, and I had to exclude some parts of URL from metrics because this record traffic actually saves all of the traffic that we are having on the application in a database. So all the routes, all the headers and stuff like this. And I had to exclude something because I don't want to save binaries blobs of binary data in the database. Yeah, it will be insane. In this case, actually, on the backend itself, I am using MongoDB just because it was simple to set up. It's not needed a lot of relational data to communicate. So it was like straight up setup and usage for the backend itself. On the application side, actually, we are using SQL because we wanted to create this application mobile first. So when we start to design it, obviously the standard choice was the SQLite database to use on the phone. And let me tell you, like it was one of my first time using this the actual SQL with React Native on the phone, and it gave us some headaches when we were setting it up because when we were developing like in the React Native development server, everything was working great, but when we build the native application, the connection with the SQL database and our application started to broke everywhere. So we have to like rewrite how we connect to the database, how we use this on the mobile side. Like yeah, it was very interesting like path to the to make this work, but with a lot of pain and screams. we had managed it. For database connections, the driver that we have chosen is Drizzle. It's quite nice. It works like well. Apart of that, troubles we got with the initially building the application, but yeah, it was not entirely the Drizzle fault, but how we initially set it up on the connection, so it was a bit tricky, you know. As you can see here, we come up with this solution when we load the SQL provider first, and then we load all of the other application, and this allowed us to make everything work. So in this case, we have our SQL provider that it's taking care of all of the SQL wrapping and memory management. So the actual build of the application works great, and then you can use it throughout of the code itself. Yeah, let's come back on the server side of the application and explore the metrics part, because this was interesting to set up actually, and I think it's very, very important. This is the route I'm using to log all the APIs on server, and here we have our Prometheus endpoints, so we can scrap all of the data from the API. So we have launched a Grafana dashboard in this case, so we can monitor basically everything going on the application. It's like very cool. And if, for example, we have a 500 error, we receive an email from the application, and we can actually know that something is down, something is not working. And setting up this was quite simple after you actually know what you have to do. And one funny part was that this time around I set up the subsystem for the Grafana, and at the beginning of the implementation of the Grafana dashboard itself, it was not working. Like I was like very like perplexed. What is happening? Actually, if you let me open maybe, yeah, if you create your Grafana dashboard at the for the first time, and for example you are using a echo server, okay? So in this case, I am using the Echo 5 and the implementation of the Prometheus like as an SDK. And here it was like this, like Echo, because I am using the Echo server all over the place. So I had to come and like update to be actually homey, so the actual prefix I set it up for the Grafana, because if not it wouldn't work. Yeah, like telling it now it's silly, it's funny, but actually that in the period when I was setting up, it was quite a WTF, you know. One thing I want to share with all of you is that when you're going to deploy the application on the Play Store at this moment in time, Google requires you to have a 14 days testing period, and you have to have 12 or more people testing your application. This part is quite tricky if you want to just come to the Play Store and launch your application. You cannot. Actually, we found this great service. It's Tester Community, and I will leave the referral link in the description also for this. It was great. We just like paid and had our application tested for 14 days. Everything was like great, and we had it approved for production. One of the things I want to share that when you are building these applications, the code bases like became big, like very fast. So you have to be very careful with like your variable names, naming conventions, tracking your files, because yeah, if you look at the application code like on the React Native side, it's quite a lot of like, you know, libraries, screens, application code, API calls, database. On the server too, even though this application, it was supposed to be mobile first. For the shipping, I just build a simple bash script that helps me to build the application and ship it to my server. At this moment in time, I don't need to like create a Docker containers to embed them inside and stuff like this. But obviously in future, when the application will grow bigger, I am planning to add it in a Docker container, maybe to move it to AWS and use the power of the cloud. But for now, this is simple, fast, and it's working pretty much fine. I hope I make you curious about this application, and please try it, download it, use it, and let me know in the comments maybe what features you want to see in the future updates, and see you next time.